you can start in your own neighborhood. You can wake up one day and you have a bunch of dots on our Superfeed app and you say, I want to go chase these votes. They're in my neighborhood. It doesn't mean you have to go and talk to them and say, who are you voting for? It means, why don't you come on over this week and let's hang out. It's building relationships organically.
Keeping our republic is on the line, and it requires patriots with great passion, dedication, and eternal vigilance to preserve our freedoms. Jenny Beth Martin is the co-founder of Tea Party Patriots. She's an author, a filmmaker, and one of Time Magazine's most influential people in the world. But the title she is most proud of is mom to her boy-girl twins. She has been at the forefront, fighting to protect America's core principles for more than a decade. Welcome to the Jenny Beth Show.
This episode of the Jenny Beth Show was recorded on Radio Row at Turning Point Action's Restoring National Confidence Summit in Las Vegas. Chris Chavez heads up the Coalitions Project for Turning Point Action, and he joins me now to talk about the exciting work they are doing to engage people and turn them into activists fighting for the cause of freedom.
Well, Jenny Beth, thank you so much for having me. I'm really excited to be here with you and everyone at Turning Point Action here in Las Vegas. So coalitions, it really is grassroots at its level. At its core, it is all grassroots, and that's what I'm all about. I've worked in grassroots for the last 6 or 7 years. I started as an activist knocking on doors for President Trump, and now I'm here working with Turning Point Action. So with coalitions, we started with just some of the basics: moms, Latinos, Black Americans, farmers and ranchers. We want to start with them because all of our data points to those people getting involved, people that the RNC has never actually reached out to, and if they have, they've just blanketed them with generalities and said, well, it works here, it's going to work in the rest of the country. So we want to build all these coalitions from the ground up at its grassroots level. We want moms talking to moms. We want farmers talking to farmers. We want Latinos talking to Latinos. We don't want, someone who doesn't even know the area. We want everything really community driven. So if you're in one community, we don't want to send you across town to go talk to another one. We don't want to send you across the state to talk to someone that if you live in Scottsdale, Arizona, and you get sent out to Mojave County, that's 200 something miles in between, and what's someone from Scottsdale going to know about farmers? So we want to make sure that everyone is talking to the right people. So that's pretty much what coalitions is at its core.
I think it is so important. It does not mean that someone from the city can't talk to someone from the country,
Sure.
because they both, in their heart, want what's best for the country.
That's
and
right.
They have that in common. Mm-hmm. So it isn't that we all need to be able to talk to one another about all the issues that we care about. It is making sure that the people who face unique challenges or have a certain issue set that they're the most worried about when they're looking at the future of the country,
Right.
that they're talking to people who understand it and can empathize and sympathize with them and be able to share that common concern and look at, these are the solutions that are best, and this is how we're going to take care of the country.
That's right. And like I had said, because it's so community oriented, we want to be neighborly, right? That's something that Tyler Boyer talks about here at Turning Point Action, is being neighborly with your fellow voters. We want to build out from our neighborhoods out. So for example, you go over to your next door neighbor's house, and instead of saying, what's the most important issue facing Arizona to you? Who are you voting for in this next election? People don't respond well to that. People want to know, you want to go over to them and be neighborly and say, hey, I'm having a barbecue this weekend. Would you like to come over? Bring your whole family. I see you guys have a family of 4. We'd love to have you. And go do that for every other house on your block and bring people together. Maybe on your 3rd or 4th time you guys are congregating, that's when you say, hey, did you turn in your ballot yet? Are you going to turn your ballot this year? Are you voting? That's when you start breaking the ice. But to just go door to door and act like a robot is not going to win us elections. So we've seen that in the past. The other thing that we're also focusing on is specifically the data and the numbers. In the past, RNC and other organizations have sent us to places that really don't make sense, right? For example, in the past, I've been sent to South Phoenix, heavily Democratic areas, heavily Democrat. But it didn't matter because they're Hispanics. So they assumed that, they're Hispanics, they're going to want to talk to you. They've never seen a Republican before in their lives. Some of them don't want to. So I've had many doors slammed in my face, many times. But what we're targeting now is those the low-hanging fruit. The Republicans, the 2 of 4 Republicans who are, they're Hispanics or they're moms or they're farmers and ranchers, they just don't get their ballot to the ballot box. They forgot. They just didn't see it on their kitchen table. Whatever the case is, we're going to places like Paul Gosar's district, Andy Biggs's district, talking to these people who are Republicans. We just need to get them and push them out to vote. A lot of it's going to take some hand-holding, but eventually we're going to get them to actually bring those ballots to the ballot box.
I think that it is so amazing that you're doing this. Now, what if people who are listening and watching today want to get involved and help? First, what if they don't fall into one of the coalitions that you mentioned? What can they do to help? And then if they do fall into it, what can they do?
Well, I would say start with coalitions.com. Coalitions.com. We've bought that URL. We are all about that URL, and it is now Turning Point Actions. So please, coalitions.com. Sign up there. It will take you wherever you need to go in your state. So even if you don't live in one of our top 10 swing states that we're projecting that we're going to win this election with, we can still try and put you in a state that's close by. For example, we have some folks in New York that really want to get involved. We're going to put them over in Pennsylvania. We're going to try and get them with our faith coalitions out in Pennsylvania. We've got some people in California that want to get involved in farmers and ranchers. Well, we're targeting a lot of people up in Mojave County and western Arizona where all those farmers and ranchers are. Maybe they can go to some farmers and ranchers events, maybe something with Future Farmers of America. They can do events out there. But we want to point them into the right direction. Coalitions.com will get you started in that.
Okay, and then the other thing that I want to go back to very quickly, you talked about how important it is to be neighborly.
Yes.
And we've been talking a lot about relational organizing, and if you haven't seen the podcast on that yet, or heard the podcast and seen the video for it, you'll be able to. So don't worry about that. We'll have that information for you. One of the most important things we need people to understand is when we're talking about building relationships or starting new relationships and then developing relationships, when we say that, if you're only doing it merely for that transaction, like if people feel like you're just coming to them and your hand is up because you want something, or you giving them a pie because in exchange you want them to make sure they turn their ballot in, they're going to see right through it. They're going to see you're not sincere, that you're transactional. Being neighborly, being sincere, really caring about your fellow American is part of how we're going to win the country and part of how we're going to solve the problems today, because we are the United States of America, and we have to remember that. And part of remembering that is being a good neighbor, being sincere when you care about other people.
That's right, and it, like you said, it's not just going over to someone's house and bringing them cookies or a pie or baked goods. It's building a relationship with them from the ground up. It's getting to know them, their families, friends, having them over to barbecues, block parties. We like to say tamale parties. We're dealing with Hispanics, but we want to be sincere with them and bring them all together. One thing I noticed the RNC does is, with their insincerity, is they start with these RNC field offices, and they do it every election cycle. They only open them for about 2 or 3 months, and they're like, we're going to hold on to this long for forever. And after the election, a few weeks after, they close them down. But there's always Hispanics or moms or healthcare workers that want to come to these RNC field offices and come together and coalesce, and they can't because they're always closed. So when you have you're being very robotic about it, I feel like that's more insincere than actually going to your neighbor's door and saying, why don't you come on over this weekend? Let's hang out. Let's bring your family over. We'll bring my family over. We'll have a game night or something. And again, politics doesn't have to necessarily come up. That's not what it's about. It's relational organizing, bringing people together. We're the United States of America. We want to be united in these things. And all the data points to, you can start in your own neighborhood. You can wake up one day and you have a bunch of dots on our Superfeed app, and you say, I want to go chase these votes. They're in my neighborhood. It doesn't mean you have to go and talk to them and say, who are you voting for? It means, why don't you come on over this week and let's hang out. It's building relationships organically.
Absolutely. Well, I really appreciate your time today. I think that what you are doing and what Tyler is doing with Turning Point Action and what Charlie is doing with the entire Turning Point Network is amazing. I'm glad to be a coalition partner with you guys. Yes. And I hope that people who are listening check out coalitions.com, learn more about what you're doing, and get involved.
Thank you so much for your time, Jenny Beth.
I am Jenny Beth Martin. This was Chris with Turning Point Action. Remember, check out coalitions.com.
The Jenny Beth Show is hosted by Jenny Beth Martin, produced by Kevin Mooneyhan, and directed by Luke Livingston. The Jenny Beth Show is a production of Tea Party Patriots Action. For more information, visit teapartypatriots.org.
If you like this episode, let me know by hitting the like button or leaving a comment or a 5-star review. And if you want to be the first to know every time we drop a new episode, be sure to subscribe and turn on notifications for whichever platform you're listening on. If you do these simple things, it will help the podcast grow, and I'd really appreciate it. Thank you so much.